What's going on, D?
What's up, buddy? How are you?
See you, man, on the big screen.
Yeah, well, hey, I knew I'd make it one day.
I got a quick question for you. What would you say to the reserved, introverted composer to encourage them to come out of their shell and become a better communicator?
Get over it. Seriously. You can't afford it. It's a luxury that you can no longer afford in a 2017 world. You're in a public business. So you have to be a public person. You have no choice. If you were a plumber, I'd tell you, be as reserved as you want to be. Just fix toilets, man. But you're not, You're in a business that is set up specifically to reach as many people as it possibly can. And that means that you've got to be somebody who gets over that somehow, some way, and gets out there and is able to interact. And look, man, I wish I had a practical way to tell you, you can do this, you can do that. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm naturally wired to be how I am, and so I'm a terrible person to ask for that part of it. But, Danny Elfman's a pretty reserved guy. It's pretty difficult to get him to talk unless you ask him, do you hate the Oscars? Then he'll talk all day about it, But he doesn't like to talk. He doesn't like to talk on camera. He doesn't like to talk about himself. But he's had to learn to get over that. He's had to learn to occasionally come out of his shell and give an interview, or occasionally come out of his shell and walk the red carpet, or occasionally come out of his shell and be seen somewhere and do something, public. You just have to, man. You just have to, because here's the thing. Everybody's viewing life through a lens, and we don't have the luxury anymore of picking and choosing how we put ourselves out there. It's wide open. Everybody's watching all the time. Everybody knows what you're doing. Everybody knows when you're bullshitting. Everybody knows when you're not telling the truth. Everything is super transparent, and so embrace it. Make it part of your shtick. Hey, I really hate talking about myself, so sorry if I sound like an idiot, but boom, make it part of that. I'll end with this really quick, Brian, I swear to God. There's a guy that when Brian and I were growing up, there was a show called American Top 40. It was a radio show with Casey Kasem. Some of you probably know it, where they counted down the 40 top pop songs of the week on the radio. There was a competing show by a guy named Rick Dees. Rick Dees was a very famous DJ for K-Rock in Los Angeles and a lot of other radio stations around the country, Z100 in New York. But Rick Dees was sort of the poor man's American Top 40. He could never really compete with American Top 40. American Top 40 was the big show. And he said one night I was laying in bed and I was laying next to my wife and I was just going, God, man, how am I ever gonna compete on that level? And his wife said, don't. You're not that show. You're a goofball. You're the guy who gets on the air and makes fart noises. And he's like, yeah, but if I play on that, I'll be the laughing stock of radio. And she said, exactly. So that's what he did. He's a multimillionaire. Weird Al Yankovic, people like that. I mean, they found what they were bad at, and they made it a big deal. And I'm not saying that you got to go out and showboat the fact that you're reserved and you don't like to talk to people, or you have trouble with that or whatever. But make it a disarming move somehow. Make it turn that weakness, or perceived weakness. I don't necessarily think that's a weakness, to be honest with you. I think actually that really comes in handy a lot of the time. Just keeping your cards close to the vest and shutting your mouth. That's a great thing to have in this business. Not being a blabbermouth like Dean Ogden. But play on that play on that strength. Make that a strength in your life. Make that something that works for you, not against you. Change your mind about it, because really you're just assigning meaning that it's a bad thing, and it's not necessarily. It could be a really great thing. I would turn it into a positive and use it as part of your thing. Oh, Zach, that guy, he doesn't like to talk, but holy shit, man, what a composer.
Thanks, team.
Cool. Thanks for having me, you guys.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely, of course, anytime.
Santa, 3 names, Ed.
Yeah.